A very good morning to you. How are you doing? Welcome to Jan 316. It's Tuesday, and so every Tuesday you know what's on the menu, Parenting Tuesday. We talk about issues that help us to become better parents as we share information, as we talk about the challenges that we face, and as we grow together. So, karibu sana. Some time back, I remember having, I think I got a message, from a single mother. And she was saying how she's having challenges. She's trying to get back into the dating scene. And man, her son, overprotective. It's like he's the one who has to go through all the CVs of prospective daters. It's like he doesn't want any man near her mother. None. Small kid. I'm not talking about a child who's a teenager. No, he's not even a teenager. About 6-7 years old, but he doesn't want any man near the mother. And I thought that's an interesting scenario. How do you deal with that? And he's very serious. He's very serious. He's the man of the house. That's very serious. So, Oedipus complex is what we are going to be looking at today. I'm sure you're thinking, what? Yeah, that's what I thought the first time I heard this name. What did you say again? What? Oedipus complex. Such a complex name, but we'll get to find out what that is all about and how it connects to parenting. And how do we approach it? How do we deal with that? As always, I'm inviting you to be a part of this conversation. If a question pops up, please don't hesitate. Send it in. Don't wait until 10 minutes to the end of the show to send in your questions. Don't wait for somebody else to send in your question. You send it in. Or maybe you have an experience that you would want to share that can be beneficial to somebody else who's tuned in this morning. Feel free to do so. Our numbers are 20316 for SMS. WhatsApp is 0786 316 316. In studio with us today, joining us via Zoom, counseling psychologist Jane Gatia. Jane, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, James. I thank God for this morning.
It is always a blessing to have you on board. Karibu sana.
I'm blessed, James. I'm happy to be associated with Family Media.
That's good. So, this hard name, Oedipus complex, what is it? Can you break it down for us?
Wow, interesting. First of all, the word itself sounds like quite foreign.
Yes.
But it is with us. Now, when we talk about a child growing up, especially a boy child, there are certain developmental tasks that they experience.
Okay.
And I would like to say that the Oedipus complex is one of those developmental tasks that the boy child will experience. Actually, the girl child will go through the same, but this refers specifically to the boy child.
Yeah.
So when the boy child is growing up, and we are talking about probably from 4 years of age, the boy child begins to realize that they are different from other children who are of the opposite gender. And that creates a lot of curiosity in them. They want to know exactly why are they different. And probably this is where parents get a bit of difficulties explaining the difference between, like the boy child asking, why am I different from that other child?
Yes.
Possibly a girl. Why don't I have this and that? And why do you dress me differently in most cases? So that is part of the complex that is upcoming.
Yeah.
But the climax will be when the child discovers that they want to spend a little more time with the opposite gender because they want to understand a few things. They actually get attracted to the opposite gender. But we need to remember that the child is too young even to have that emotional attachment the way we know it for adults. That in itself is part of the Oedipus complex.
Okay.
It is naturally provided for the boy child to get to understand the opposite gender and actually to be attracted to the opposite gender in a sense so that they develop in the future, they are able to develop that emotional connection with the opposite gender. If the Oedipus complex does not happen, that might be a crisis, James, in the future.
So so you're saying every boy child goes through that stage in their growth process?
Yes, they do. It is part of the developmental task. It is actually in preparation for the future of this boy child who will one day be a man. And this man has to take charge of the opposite gender and has to do the natural things that need to be done when relating with the opposite gender.
Okay. Does it get to extreme cases? Because like I was sharing earlier, a couple of weeks ago, a single mom had sent in a message, and they were saying how their child, this young man, is extremely possessive. You know, they don't want her to talk to any other man. You know, and she, at first it sounds funny, but then she realized, okay, this is pretty serious. So is that taking it to an extreme side?
Well, probably it will depend on many factors, but that may also be an indication of the personality of this particular boy.
Okay.
This boy is jealous of the mother.
Yeah.
And cannot stand any other man around the mother because of that complex. And he is practicing in the unconsciously, probably I would say unconsciously, he's already practicing what he would do when he becomes the man enough, so to speak.
Yes, yes. Wow, that is interesting and a bit strange, and sometimes you wouldn't know how to deal with it. I'm thinking, can it get also to that extreme where you have both parents, where this small boy, you know, it's almost like the father becomes a threat in quotes because the young man is so attached to the mother?
Yes, definitely, yes. Actually, the father of this boy becomes the enemy, as you say again,
yes,
in quotes. And the enemy has to be fought. So the boy might fight, the father might find himself being fought by the boy. And without understanding, and sometimes it creates confusion, and the father may begin to think that the boy is being rude. And the boy is being rebellious. And again, remember this boy, we are talking of 7, 8, 9 years of age.
Yeah.
So that causes a lot of confusion in the parenting process. And the parent need to understand that this is an opportunity for the boy to practice with the mother, protect the mother while fighting the father, because that other man must be fought in the process so that the mother is safe.
You know, when we talk about this, it sounds so funny, you know, but it's a pretty serious issue. Are there things the parents can do unknowingly to actually enhance this whole complex?
Yes, that can cause confusion. And if the parent, the mother particularly, does not understand, even the father, if they both do not understand that this is a phase that you come and pass. And it is important for the boy child to go through this phase. It can cause confusion, which we call stagnation. The boy child can get stuck. And once they get stuck, or they get fought, in other words, they are fought for protecting the mother, and they are told, get away from the mother. Go and sit with the daddy, you are a boy. Go and sit with other boys. That can create a crisis in the future of this man. We call him a man still, because he may just want to be with his own gender. And that becomes an origin of one gender style. That's darkness, James.
That is so interesting. Let me take you back.
And serious.
Yeah, that is serious. Let me take you back. Are there some telltale signs that as a parent I can begin to observe in my child to recognize they are going through this phase? what are some behavior patterns that I need to look at and recognize, my young man is going through this phase?
Yes, it's easy to tell because the boy will want to spend most of the time with the mother. Actually, he will even be suggesting many things. Mommy, wear this dress. This looks better on you. Oh, Mommy, I want to help you to cook. Oh, can I help you to do ABCD? Can I help you to hold the baby? If there's a younger baby, for that matter. Can I go with you to the market? And the boy wants to hang out with the mother most of the times, or with the opposite gender. But in most cases, it will be the mother because that's the safest person to hang out with. And the boy feels safe because he knows this is my mother who cannot harm me. This is my mother who cannot do bad things to me. You know, that is quite in the subconscious of the boy. And when the boy wants to be with the mother, he even cries. Even if the father is still around, when the mother is leaving, he actually wants to be in the company of the mother more often than not. James, imagine that.
Wow. Listen to this question. This one says, thank you so much. This is very informative. I have experienced the same with my 3.5-year-old boy. He doesn't want to see me near the mother at all. Hata kama ni holding hands. Could this be what he's going through?
That is the true color of the Oedipus complex. So the boy is going through the phase, and the father had better just encourage that to happen for the good of this young man who is coming up, growing up. So it is important that the boy is oriented, and the mother needs to accept that and orient the boy, show him the way, and kind of love him, because that love, that emotional attachment is what the boy is cultivating in himself, unknowingly though.
Wow. We always say that the girls are attracted to their fathers and the boys are attracted to their mother. We talk about daddy's little girl and mommy's little boy. Is this all part of this whole complex?
It is still part of it because the girl is not left behind. They are all growing up. And for the girl, she will experience what we call Electra complex. Yes, and the girl will do the same thing that the boy is doing, except they are crossing paths. They are going this way, the other is going that way. So the girl will want to be very close to the father, and that is the same story, and wants to protect, she feels like she should be closer to the father. That little girl of yours, James, wants to be closer to you than to the mother. And that again can cause confusion. And actually the girl will be fighting the mother when she seems like she is taking the space of this little girl. So that is Electra complex. And it is very necessary to happen.
Wow. Oedipus complex, Electra complex. These are complex things. If you have any questions for us this morning as we go on with this discussion, feel free to send in your SMS. Maybe it's something you have experienced and you've been wondering, how do I deal with this? We would like to hear your story. SMS is 20316, WhatsApp 0786 316 316. Oedipus complex is what we are looking at today. Very interesting discussion. Joining us via Zoom, Jane Gatia, counseling psychologist. And your questions are coming through on 20316, WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. Jane, there's somebody who's asking, my boy is so attached to the father, is that okay?
That's interesting. It will depend on the age of the boy. So if the boy is attached to the father, it also depends, is there a mother figure around? Is there another, the real mother or a mother figure, whichever may be, more appropriate here. So it doesn't really mean that there's a disorder, but we need to check on the exposure that the child has. And also the encouragement, because if the boy is beaten to be too close to the mother, that can a crisis.
Very true.
Because the boy will be so scared to hang out with the mother. But in the absence of a mother figure, the only person that the child has is the father.
That's true.
And that explains it all.
Okay. Another question here says, good morning, Pastor James. I'm a single mother of a 15-year-old. The boy is super possessive. He hugs me so often, extremely, until it feels uncomfortable. Is this normal?
Wow. For
15-year-old, yeah.
Yeah, 15-year-old and above need to have detached with the time from the mother. I think it's high time. It's never too late.
Yeah.
It's high time the mother can begin to, encourage this boy, maybe to, to be on another side, not necessarily to be told to go look for a girl to hug. Probably that is not the best way to do it for a mother, but to be encouraged and told probably, we need to hug less often. Remember, I'm your mother, and in good faith. And, in the future, we expect you to be hugging your wife. Just that orientation is very important. Just creating awareness. It's actually more about creating some level of awareness. That is very important.
Would this be a good season? I'm just wondering, for this single mom to find a father figure, a man that can begin to speak into this 15-year-old's life.
Very good. That is one of the ways to get someone whom the boy can trust and talk to him, just to introduce him to the men world. Because that's a person who is grown enough and has the ability to develop emotional attachment, and that man will hopefully help, and definitely will help the boy to feel the attachment and to be able to behave now like a man who is growing up.
Very true.
He's no longer a child.
He's now a man. We have a question coming in from Qatar. Rather an observation. This is Moses joining us from Qatar. He says, I'm so encouraged by the discussion this morning. This is exactly what has been happening in my family. My daughter is so protective of me, to a point of fighting her mother and her brother when they associate with me. Sometimes the brother keeps asking her, kwani baba yako peke yako? The girl is 5 years old.
That's exactly what we talked about, the Electra complex.
Yes.
He is protecting the father from other women hanging around the father.
Yes.
Including her own mother, who is an enemy, as we pointed out.
Yeah.
In this case. So that is quite normal, and that is the appropriate age for that to happen. But after 12 years, the girl should be let free. Actually, if the right things are done by the parents, including making peace with this girl, she will go back to her position. And she'll leave the father alone, because she cannot love the father in that sense. And the father has also to let go slowly to avoid the stuckness, which can happen very easily. And the girl may actually find herself exploited. And the father can also be confused about what is all this about. So the father also need to understand not to go too far. Because that can also cause the same confusion in the father as it's causing in the little girl.
I love that you said that, because I was wondering, at what point do you begin to create boundaries? I remember some time back there was a video. Somebody had posted a video of him and the daughter, and the daughter was kissing him on the lips, and the daughter was sitting on his lap. And there was an uproar on social media because people were saying, that girl is now almost becoming a teenager. You should not be encouraging that kind of a connection with her. So at what point, as a parent, whether it is the mother or the father, do you begin now to cut back and draw boundaries to help your child mature better?
The parent need to recognize the age of the child and how fast the child is growing. After 10 years, for arimbashualas of either the boy or the girl, the child should be let go. The father should begin to keep a little more distance from the girl. And the mother should also let this boy go so that he can experience, he can be the man now who begins to grow quite grounded very well in terms of their emotional and social development. The idea behind the Oedipus complex and the Electra complex was to help the boy and the girl, as the case may be, to be able to develop that social and emotional connection with the opposite gender. But then that shouldn't last for too long. Because after 10 years for early maturers, 12 years for later maturers, the child has already known what it means to be with the opposite gender. Their emotional development is a little more grounded. And they feel the very emotions that a man would feel towards the opposite gender and the, vice versa. So it is important to observe that age developmental issue.
Good. This one seems like a bit of an extreme case. It says, praise the Lord, family. I'm thankful for this morning because of the program you have today. I'm 48 and divorced with a teenage son. I want to date again, but my son can't allow. Every time I introduce a friend, he rebels, crying, screaming, and it takes a day or two to heal. What can I do?
Well, that one is, first of all, a bit, amazing.
Yes.
But it is important for this dad to hold a little discussion. Call it an MOU between the two.
It's
they
the mother.
Need to sit. Oh, it's the mother.
Yes.
They need to sit. Okay, still with the mother. It's the same story. They need to sit and talk. And the mother needs to explain that she needs a companion. And this boy will be in a position to understand because the boy cannot be the complete companion for the mother. So that is important. I call it an MOU between a mother and the son. They need to talk about it.
Wow.
And so long as the child is brought to the awareness that it is for the good of the mother. The boy is jealous of the mother, but at the same time, the boy would be happier if the mother is happy.
Very true.
And I think that is the information that needs to come out in black and white.
I'm just thinking, going back to culture, because there's something you mentioned earlier, and this is how we are cultured. You know, boys are not to hang out with their mothers. Usikae huko kwa jikoni na mama yako. Usikae na wanawake kila saa, so when this process is suppressed, does it have any effect on a child? When a child is going through that process and you keep castigating them and telling them what you're doing is wrong, no, go and sit with the boys or go back and sit with the girls, does it have any psychological effect on the child?
Sometimes it would, based on the age of the child again, because here we are actually seriously talking about the age factor and the things, the developmental tasks that are going on at that particular age. So the child may become timid. The child may not develop the emotional stability that they require to sustain a reasonable relationship in the future. Their self-esteem can definitely be affected, and they may not have the courage in the future to approach a person of the opposite gender for meaningful relationship. So those are some of the things that may happen. And also the child, James, at the same time, it's good to point out that the child can also become a dependent personality, which in itself is actually a personality disorder.
Explain that a bit more. When you say a dependent personality, what do you mean?
A dependent personality is one who believes that they cannot do things by themselves. And they always have to rely, because they were told, go and sit there with those others. So they view themselves as of less human and less with less ability to make decisions. And therefore, they rely on others. They never sit on the front line.
Yeah.
They'll never be on the limelight because they were told, go and sit with those others. And that doesn't sound very good. So the child will over-rely actually on other people for everything, and they believe they cannot make a decision. Whereas they should have been helped to make a decision, be explained to, why do you need to go to the other side? Now it is time to go to the other side. You have been on this side and it's good for you. So that discussion, that dialogue is what will build capacity in the child.
Okay. I've had cases and seen cases where somebody gets married and, the lady say, you got married to mama's boy. Because this man is still so attached to the mother, not the father, to the mother. It's almost like they can't make a decision without mama's input. They can't go for a week or two without talking to mama, without going to visit mama. And they have a relationship that seems a bit out of place. Is this part of what we are talking about?
Well, I think the boy may have got stuck at the same age we are talking about, because he was supposed to know the opposite gender through the mother and then get off the mother. But it is like he didn't get off. So he got stuck there. And that is what we call part of the family dysfunctions. And unfortunately, James, for the purposes of the parents listening to us, it is important that the boy learns to get off the mother, as much as a girl also needs to learn to get off the father at some point, because that can create a generation of dysfunctioning families. Because the same thing the father is doing, assuming he has children, they will also observe. And the same thing can happen to his own children. So he needs to get off the mother. He learned how to be with the mother. The mother trained him how to get emotionally attached. And so he needs to be attached to his wife so that the children can also learn from them. And that is the essence of effective parenting, because it carries on. It actually has a deeper effect on other generations.
Wow. There's a comment here from my friend Timothy wa Uba. Timo, how are you doing? Thank you for always listening. Timo is saying, for sure, I now understand why my two-year-old girl always insists at an imbebe before I get anywhere in the house. Even I am the only one that can feed her bila shida. Inaonekana hao wengine wakimfeed ni shida, but kama ni daddy, she will eat with peace. What are your thoughts about this comment?
And that is interesting, first of all, because of the age of the child. That is okay. Let the child be fed by daddy. That is fine. It is part of enhancing the attachment. It's only that it seems to have started a little earlier, but it is not harmful in itself. But when the child hits 10 years, the father should let go. The child should be fed by other people, assuming the child still need to be fed anyway, which is unlikely. Which is unlikely to happen. So for now, it's okay. The dad should remain cool and take care of this child and introduce the girl to the world of relating with the opposite gender, and do it perfectly well.
Wow. Do you have any questions for us this morning as we go on with this discussion? 20316 is the SMS line. WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. Maybe as a parent you've gone through experiences, or maybe things are connecting right now as you hear what we are talking about. We would love to hear from you. We are talking about the Oedipus complex. Your questions are coming in on 20316. For SMS, WhatsApp 0786 316 316. I have an interesting one here, Jane. This one says, I am a single dad. My daughter has blackmailed me for long, to an extent that I have kept my intimate relationships a secret. Daddy, you don't love me anymore. You love her more than you love me. It's hard to explain to a 9-year-old that I need a woman in my life. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's a tough one.
That's interesting and a
Yes.
tough one too, I
Yes.
do accept. But now it is by assumption that the child will not understand. Parents need to know that if you can explain even to a child what it means to have a companion,
Yeah.
they will understand. By 9 years, actually by 7 years, they would understand. So it is important to use the language that the child understands to explain to them that you need, as daddy needs a companion. And this is a different companion. And assure the child. What is important is the assurance
Okay.
that they will not be abandoned because someone else is coming in. And they'll be safe. Because what the child fears most
Yeah.
is either for the parent to be unsafe or insecure, or for the child to be insecure. So it is the responsibility of the father to assure the girl that it will be well.
Okay.
I'll still take care of you.
Yes.
I'll still, ensure that you are safe. And the father also assures the girl that I will also be safe. And I'm not endangered in any way.
Okay.
I think that discussion is very important.
A question asking, would you say that this complex affects discipline? Because every time the mother punishes her daughter, she rebels and says, Nita kusema kwa daddy.
That's also interesting. Parenting is interesting,
Parenting
generally.
is very interesting, yes.
Because children will always give us surprises as
Yes.
parents. But anyway, all the same, we are saying that this is not an indicator of indiscipline.
Yeah.
It is only that the child wants to tell the father, the mother, that I'll be safe with the dad, If you are not giving me safety, a safety net, I'm sure daddy will give me.
Yeah.
It is just as simple as that. And the child has no capacity to carry it beyond there.
I like that. I like
It
that.
just means that.
Okay. Somebody's asking, what happens if at that point when this young girl is attached, so much attached to the father, and the father dies? How do you handle that?
Wow, that's a sad one.
Yes.
Now. And it's an issue of grieving for the child. Simple game is to get the child through grief counseling.
Okay.
And reassurance that, of course, they have lost their father, unfortunately, but they can attach themselves with the current parent who is available. And this parent needs to give that protection in a way. Of course, they will never take the exact place of the father.
Yeah.
They will never be like the father because no one can be like another in this planet. But the child definitely will be traumatized and they need to be taken through grief therapy first to come to terms with that before they find another level of attachment, maybe in an uncle, maybe in another person, man figure, who can probably give the emotional support that the child requires.
Okay. This one from Abuso in Kisumu is asking, to what extent does the Oedipus or Electra complex make a man or a woman get fixated and behave like the other gender? Because if this young man is so fixated with the mother, or this young girl is so fixated with the dad, can it make them start behaving like the other gender?
Yeah, that probably is another complex in itself.
Okay.
So, as pointed out, the mother needs to be the one on the driving wheel, has to be the one on behind the wheel.
Yeah.
In other words, the mother is in charge of being sensitive that this child need to be let go so that they can establish the right relationships at the right time, still with the guidance of the parent. And so should the father do the same. Now, that fixation would come if the parent does not let go. It is not the child who refuses to go.
Yeah.
It is the parent who is seen as being in charge,
Yes.
who should let go so that the child can be able to re-establish relationships that are more appropriate, guided by the parents, being told about the no-go zones, all those things.
Yeah.
The parent still is on standby to help the child to develop even those most appropriate relationships that can lead even to marriage in the future when the child is, of course, an adult.
Because in this relationship, you, the parent, are the adult. You are the one to guide.
True.
You're the sensible one.
True. And the more knowledgeable,
Yes.
and the more, the one who has more experience, or the more experienced person, yeah.
Okay. Emmanuel from Denderu is saying, my 3-year-old girl ni kichwa ngumu sana towards the mother, and she never listens to her mom, always. The mom always has to ask for help if the girl does wrong. Is this a case that's gone overboard?
The mother needs to be in charge.
Uh-huh.
The parent is always in charge of the child, no matter what the child does.
Yeah.
No matter how, Swiss like saying in Kiswahili, kichwa ngumu, if the child looks like they are big-headed, it is still the parent. It will bounce back to the parent at some point.
Yeah.
So the parent is always in charge of guiding, not necessarily reprimanding, not necessarily, kind of beating the child. Spanking the child is not the issue. And parenting is not just about beating the child
Yes.
and reprimanding them and shouting and all that kind of thing. It is the parent who talks to the child and guide them and tell them the right thing to do and the right to go. So all the times, the parents should never relax, and the parent should never take the back seat, because children have a way of putting parents on the back seat.
Yeah.
Parent is not careful.
Okay. Oedipus and Electra complex. I hope you've gained some understanding on what that is and how to handle your children if they are going through that season in their life. Thank you for all the questions. Leo mmeuliza maswali mapema. Asanteni sana. Truly appreciate that. I'm glad we were able to cover the questions. So may the Lord bless you. Let's continue to sharpen one another and become better parents, because these young ones are the future of this nation. They are the future of the church. Who we are raising will be the leader tomorrow. And if we do a good job, my friend, we have invested well in the generations to come.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.